UiPath has got two design experiences. One is the classic and the other is the modern design experience. As an RPA developer, we should know both the experiences, how to use what. In this playlist, we are covering the classic versus the modern design in a step-by-step manner where we are focusing more on the modern design. In the previous videos of the playlist, we have covered already all of these topics. In case you are absolutely new to modern design and you want to get started, you can refer to the playlist and get started. Coming to the channel for the first time and you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing to the channel to get the next videos in this playlist. Having said that, let's get started. In this video, we are going to discuss about the login logic in the modern design experience. We have already covered this topic in the classic design where we talked about what are the different things and activities you can use to do a successful login. But now in the modern experiences, the activities are a little bit changed and I have got some requests that, hey, we are not able to understand that how do you use this activity in a actual login scenarios. That is why this video come in picture where I am going to do the Acme login scenario in a step-by-step manner and all of it in a modern design experience. Okay, so to get started with, I am in my UiPath studio and let us do the settings for the modern project where you just go to this button which says settings. You go to design. And here you would have something which is called use modern for the new projects. As of now, this is toggled off. So I'll go here and I toggle this to on, which would make sure that anytime I'm creating a new project, it would be created in the modern design experience. Okay. Once that is done, I'll go back to this button which says start and I'll create a new process and I'll call this process as modern design project. Okay, I'll change the description, create. Okay, so we'll just wait for this automation to load and we are going to do the problem statement in a step-by-step manner. Okay, so this would be our website where we are actually going to write the automation, which is called acmetestuipath.com. Okay, and this is the website where we are going to test and write today's code. First thing first, in case you do not have an account on the Acme website, go to this website acmetest-login. I'll provide this link in the description. Just click on this link and click on this button which says register and provide your details and you should have an account. Okay. Now, whenever we talk about logging into an application, there can be multiple scenarios, right? The first scenario is a happy path, which I call this one, right? This is called a happy path, where you open in a plain sequence, right? You provide the username, you provide the password and you just log in, right? So I'll call this one as first scenario. I'll call this as happy path, where you have a username, okay? You have a password and you log in, right? Something like this. The robot provides the username, password and you click on this button and it is successfully logged in. Okay, so this is one scenario. The second scenario might happen is that as soon as the robot browse this URL, okay, the welcome, or I would say the login screen is not coming and directly the welcome screen is coming. That means in this place you don't need to log in again, right? So the second scenario here is to check if it is already logged in, right? If it is already logged in, then you won't get this screen username password login and then you will get an exception, right? So this is the second scenario which can happen. The third scenario could be you are in the login screen and the password which are given to you in Orchestrator assets is incorrect, and when you click on login, it does not match the records, right? So then you have a third scenario which says that the credential do not match the records, right? Then this is the third scenario which you have to take care of. And the last scenario could be that your username is correct, your password is correct, but when you click on this login button, it is not going inside, right? It is not going to the correct page. You do not get this error, which this does not mean that I am successfully logged in, right? There can be other reasons, the portal may be down or anything, right? So I would call this as a successful login, right? So what should be the scenario for a successful login? So these are the 4 scenarios which we have to do, and we have to see that how we can write an login mechanism which take care of all these 4 things. And mostly whenever you have this scenario, this would be nothing but a business exception, right? If everything works well, then only I should proceed to the next pieces of automation, right? We have already written in the classic. Today we are going to see this same automation in modern design, right? Let's go to the UiPath Studio and write this automation in the modern design now. So I'll go here, I'll create a new sequence, okay? I'll call this sequence as login to Acme. I'll go here and I'll say create. Okay, so my sequence is ready. So the first thing first, best practice, always include one activity which is called log message. When I go here and I'll say it is info level log, right? Because when you run it in an unattended mode, you should know, right, that what is happening to the automation. So I'll simply go here and I'll say that login flow started. Okay, so login flow will start here, right? Now to log in to the Acme, the first thing which we need to do in this automation is to log into this website, and this website is opening in a browser. So the first thing would be to open this website which is in a browser. You can use any browser. I prefer to use the Edge browser, right? Now in the modern design, we have to use an activity which is called use application / browser. Drag and drop it here. Okay. And now this is asking me indicate the application to automate, which application you want to automate. So I will say that yes, I want to automate. I'll just point it to the Acme like this, right? And the beauty of modern folders, it will automatically take majority of the details for you, including the URL, browser and everything, right? One benefit of using the modern activities, right? One more thing to notice here is that as of now I have hard coded the stuffs, but when you are really doing the automation, you should use the robotics enterprise framework, the configs, the assets to make this thing configurable, right? But the agenda here is to complete the use case with modern activities, hence I am keeping this as hard coded. Okay, so once you have opened this web page, what is the next thing? The next thing is you have to type the email, you have to type the password here, and then you have to click on this button which is login. Okay, now to type the password or the username, you have an activity which is called type, and you would notice that in the UI automation application you have something which is called type into. I'll drag and drop it inside here, and now this is the modern type into. Okay, I'll indicate it on the screen and I'll point it to this button which says email. Okay, and now here it has given me the fuzzy selector, strict selector, image, everything it has given me, and this looks good to me because it is uniquely able to identify the elements. And I'll just say confirm, right? No changes, I trust the modern activities. Okay, now the next one is I want to type a secure text. In the classic design, you have a single activity, you have a different activity, however, which was called type secure text, right? But in the modern design, the same activity which is called type into can actually do the same thing. Type the username and type the password as well, right? So for the first one where it says type to email, the second one I'll point it again and I'll point it to this guy which is called the password. You just have to wait for the modern activities to load and then say confirm. Okay, now how do you decide whether this password is a secure or not? You just click on this button and that makes this as the secure string, right? So in the classic design, you have two separate activities. One is type into and the other is the type secure text. However, in the modern activities, it is just a matter of click to change from standard to secure. Okay, now the question arises, where do I have this username and the password, right? So username, password should be always stored in assets, right? So I'll go to the data manager, and here I have stored all my credentials, right? So we are doing the Acme automation, so I'll go here and I'll take this guy which is called Acme credentials, drag and drop it here, and I'm going to use something which is called get asset. Okay, how do I get this? I simply went to my orchestrator and I created an asset and I put my username and the password there, right? In case you don't understand assets, we have a dedicated video explaining the how do you get and read these assets, right? So we have the assets now, and once we read the assets, if I go to the properties, right, it is going to okay, sorry, I have taken the wrong activity, guys. It would be not get asset, it would be get credential, right? I'll delete this. I'll again go to the data manager, drag and drop this activity here from data manager, again a new feature, and I want to use the get credential, right? Because I want to get the username and the password. Okay, and now if I go to the properties, you would see that I am getting username and the password. Now with this new update, you guys do not need to create variable. Okay, so if I want to pass the value from here to here, I can simply open this email activity. It is asking me what do you want to type. So I'll click on this button, which is the plus button. I'll say use variable, and I'll say that use the get credential username. Double click and it will automatically create the variable for me from here to here. Easy, right? If I go to the password, secure string, click on this plus button, use the variable, get credential, password. And now if I go to the variables, you would notice that both these variables are created automatically by UiPath. One is string and the other is secure string, right? Very good feature of 2023 version of UiPath. Okay, so type into username, type into password is done, right? What do we want to do next? So once the username and password is done, we want to click on this button which says login, right? So I'll go here and I'll take one activity which is called click. Drag and drop the click activity. Where do you want to click? Indicate in the browser, and I'll point it to this button which says login. I'll say confirm, and this will actually go and do the login. Okay, now sometime what might happen that if you have something like this, right, where the username and password is already available and the robot start typing, it will start typing here, right? So I do not want the username to be continue. I want the robot to first clear whatever is there and then actually put the password, right? So that setting can be done by going to the activities, go to the properties, and here you would have something which is called empty fields. Okay, so clear the existing content of the text field before typing, right? So if I go here, you can say that how do you want to do? It's by default selected to single line. If you see for the password, modern activity has already done that setting for me, right? Empty field. In case you don't understand, guys, all of these settings, we have a dedicated video explaining all of these, so not spending much time here, but I hope you guys are getting familiar with how do you do a modern activity automation, right? So if I just save this, okay, and I'll close this complete browser as well. Now what is the benefit of using it in modules, right? So the one benefit is I can only run this automation which is login Acme. I'll go here and I'll say run the file. Now what would happen? It will actually go open the Edge browser, get the credential, login, and also click on the button which says login, right? If everything else works well, that means that we are good to proceed with the automation. Okay, so it has opened the Acme test UiPath website. Now it should go to the orchestrator, get me the credential, and type the credential in this place. Okay, so it has got the username, got the password, click on the login button, and automation completed, right? But the thing is, I never knew that the automation was successful or not, right? Because it automatically got closed, right? So I can go to this activity, I'll go to the properties, and now this is what the benefit of using the modern design, and this is where I want you guys to focus, right? So the browser was automatically closed, which I do not want it to happen. So I'll go here to the properties and I'll say that in the close, I never want to close it. Okay, the same automation, but this time I just change one setting. I'll go here and I'll again say run the file. Okay, so this time I am instructing it that please don't close the browser. Okay, so the automation will again start, and this time I have instructed the robot to not close the browser. Okay, so we'll just wait. Same automation. Now it should get and type the username. Then it should type the password, click on the login. And now if you see, the browser was not closed. And here I can see that I am successfully logged into my account, right? Now, one thing which I want you guys to do is, if you see here, right? If I go here without logout and I directly browse this URL, what happens? It does not show me the login screen, right? Because it is already logged in. So if the browser is already logged in, the screen will not come and this automation will break. That means that you have to write a logic here in this, whether to check whether you have to actually log in or not. How you can do it? You can just check for this element, right? Dashboard. Because see here, dashboard is, this text dashboard is only available when you actually log in. If you are in the home screen, you do not have that element which is called dashboard, right? Then you have the login. So you can simply write an automation or a condition here which says that once you browse this URL, and here before you get the credential, okay, I will check. What I'll check? I'll check for something which is called element exist. But now in the modern design, I am not having something which is called element exist, right? So because in the modern design you have something which is called check app state. I'll drag and drop it here. Okay, and here which element you want to wait. Okay, so I'll go here and I'll say indicate the element and I'll point it to this button which says dashboard. Then I'll say confirm. Okay, now what do you want to do here? I want to wait for the element to appear. Okay, but for how long? The default timeout is 5 seconds. You have an option here to change it to 5, 10, 15, 20, 30. So I change it to 10 seconds. I just want to wait for 10 seconds and I want it to wait for this element to appear, right? If this element which is dashboard appears, well and good, that means that you are already logged in. But if you are not logged in, if that element does not appear, which is in the else part, target does not appear, that means you are not logged in, and then you have to do all of these stuffs, right? Get the password, get the email ID, right? I'll just do a like this. Okay, I'll again pass it here. I'll again pass it to this activity like this. Now this error is coming because we have moved the elements and now the variable name might be changed, right? So I'll quickly fix this. I'll go to the properties and I'll remove this. In the get credential, the other option is you can also go here and hit Ctrl+K and create the variable like this. Username, create the variable password, right? Both the ways you can do it. You can create the variables directly or you can just create the variable by yourself as well. Username, and then I'll pass here password. Okay, now once that is successfully done and which is login here, Now the next thing is, what do you want to do if it is already in the dashboard, right? So that means that you can always say, I'll just go here, I'll say info level log, and I can say that it is already logged in. Okay, and before doing that, I'll just copy paste this log here, and I'll say that fresh login, right? So that we understand that yes, this is which part of the automation is working. Okay, so I'll save everything. I'll again go to this login Acme. I'll go here and I'll say run the file. Okay, so it has reopened the browser, but this time it was already logged in. Okay, so what has happened? If I go to the output, you would notice that it says that I was already logged in, and it continued the automation. It never went to this part of the automation, right? But if I simply go here and if I log out this, right, now when you reopen, and it should get you the main screen, right? So I'll go here, I'll log out this as well, I'll close this. Now if I go here and I say run the file, right, this time that login screen is not there, right? It should show you the front dashboard, and if that is the front dashboard, it will go, it will type the username password, and then it will click on the login button. Okay, so we have given a time of 10 seconds, so it will wait for 10 seconds. And now if you guys notice here, the username and password is already stored, right? But we have taught the robot to clean everything and then log in, right? So now as you can see, I can go to the output now, and you can see that it is a fresh login, right? So that is how you can use the modern design activities to check the app state and actually log into the application. Okay, so now the login was successful. Okay, one more best practice. So this one, I can say that this is not target appear or target does not appear. You can simply say that if login is already done, right? So that you guys can understand that what automation you have written, right? So you can always change the activities name like this. Okay, so what would happen? It will go here, it will check for 10 seconds, already done, not done. You can change this number, right, by just changing it to, let's say 6, right? 6 seconds is a good enough time. Already logged in, it will simply use the same session. If it is not already logged in, it will simply go and try to get this assets, credentials and everything, right? Now think of a scenario when you try to log in. Okay, when you try to log in and somebody gave a wrong password in the assets. Now if I click on the login has failed, right? But my automation is not checking whether the credential was good, not good, right? So we need to test it. So now if I have to ask you guys which part you will test it, already logged in or fresh logged in, right? So if it is already logged in, I know that yes, we are in this part which is the dashboard. So that means that yes, we are already logged in here. But in case we are not already logged in, which is the fresh login part, I get the credential, I type the username and I type the password, I click on the login, and then what? I'm not having anything, right, to check whether the login was successful, not successful, what has happened. So as a developer, you need to think of all the scenarios, and one scenario is that here the credentials are not matching. So that means that we need to raise a business exception here. How do you raise a business exception? Let's see that. So I'll go back to here, and once you click on this login button, I'll again use an activity which is called app state. This is in the modern design which is called check app state. Same activity, drag and drop it here. Okay, and then it's asking me what do you want to check. So I'll check for this guy, right, which I have highlighted. These credentials do not match our records. So I am telling UiPath to find this thing, and I'll say confirm. Okay, so if by any chance you are getting this thing, right, and the time, I'll only make it to 5 seconds, because as soon as you click on the login button, it automatically appears, right? you can make it to 3, 2. That I'll leave it to your leave it for your implementation. Okay. Now element to appear or disappear. So I want to say that if this element appear within 5 seconds, if this element appear, right, if this will appear, target appear, what this means? This means that your credentials are wrong. Okay. And if this does not appear within 5 seconds, that means I can say that we are logged in. Okay. Now what do you want to do if the credentials are wrong? So I can go here, I'll use an activity called throw. Okay. So throw is an activity, guys, which is used to generate a business exception. Okay. In case you don't understand what is throw, how do you raise business exception, dedicated exception handling playlist available both in Hindi and English languages. Link is available in the description, right? So throw is an activity which is used to write a business exception. So I'll open this in the advanced editor and I'll simply write here new. This is how you write new business rule exception. Why new? Because this is a business exception we are creating on the own. And I'll mention here that now this is a custom message. Credentials are not correct. Right? You can mention any of your custom string, but this new is important. And I'll say save. So this will throw a business exception. And if everything is good, right, we are logged in. So we do not get this, we click on the login button, we are logged in. But do you guarantee that it is logged in? The answer is no, right? Because sometime what might happen that this website is taking long time to go and continue to this stuff, right? So you need to be very sure that you have successfully logged in, right? So as of now, I do not say that we are logged in here, right? I can say that the target does not appear, and I can say that I'll just use a log message activity. Okay. And in the log message activity, I'll say that I did not receive the error, right? But that does not mean that I am successfully logged in, right? So I can say that no incorrect password error, right? So no incorrect password error, I'll just log in, right? So now after this is done, we have checked the app state, it has clicked on the login button, right? If everything works well, it should go here, it will say that I am incorrect credential and it will stop. Wherever, if everything works well, you will get this log message, right? But after this, right, am I very much sure that I am successfully logged in, right? So what I'll do is check app state dashboard, right? Here I am checking this one. This check step dashboard is for fresh login / relogin, right? So once the automation is done with these complete step, either it will go here, either it will go here, right? Now after that, I want to validate whether the login was successful or not. And what is the criteria? Let me go here and log in. Now what is the successful criteria, right? You can use anything. You can use this welcome, you can use your email ID, which is nothing but your email ID. You can use this button. The best I can say is the dashboard, right? So once you are done with this part, here I want to do one small validation, and I'll just use the same activity which is called check state. Check app state, drag and drop it here. From both of them, I'll say that if you see this button, which is the dashboard, okay, after happening of all those stuffs, whichever is done at the top, I'll say confirm. Okay, and then if that target appears, I can simply use a log message, and now I will say that my login was successful. I'll say info, and I'll say here login successful. And if this is not appearing, that means your login was not successful. Okay, and then you should not do the other pieces of automation. Now to continue this automation, I can simply use a boolean flag here where I say that, hey, if this element is there, just use a boolean flag is login successful, and continue to the other part of automation only when you get that flag, right? So here I have 2-3 scenarios which we have done, right? So I'll save this. I'll go back here, and this is the scenario where the browser is automatically logged in, right? So let's test this. I'll go here and I'll say run the file. Okay, so the browser was already logged in. So let's go to the logs and see output. It says that it was already logged in and the login is successful, right? Now let's go to the next scenario. I'll close this, go here, log out, right? So this is the logout scenario where the automation would be logged out, and I'll close this browser, go here and run the file. Okay, so now this is the second scenario where we are telling UiPath to go and put the user ID and the password. So now the password is already there, right? So we have instructed to clean it. So it will clean and then it will log in, right? So clean the password, re-login, clicked on the login button, then it will validate if the dashboard button is there. And if I go to the output, you can see that it is a fresh login, no incorrect password error, and the login was successful, right? Now there is a third scenario where we say that the password is incorrect, right? But we are reading the password from Orchestrator assets, right? So to change it, I'll go simply to the Orchestrator, go to the data manager, assets. You can click on this button which says view all assets, or you can right click on this and say view the asset. Okay, so I am signing into my Orchestrator with the email ID which I am connected to. Please make sure that you connect to the correct Orchestrator, and this is our Orchestrator, right? Talking of the Orchestrator, guys, if you are absolutely new to the Orchestrator and you want to know Orchestrator in detail, I have a full-fledged course which is available on Graphy. You guys can check out the course and you can learn all of these topics which you see on the screen in a step-by-step manner from the course on Graphy. I have posted the link in the description for your reference. Okay, now in the Acme credential, I am just putting wrong password 1234 and I'll say update, right? So now I have updated the password in this. Okay, and let's go here. I'll log out this. Now we are testing the third scenario where the password itself is incorrect. Okay, I'll close this and let's go here and I'll say run the file. Now what should happen? It will again reopen the acme test uipath.com. Correct password is there, but we have updated. So this time we are testing it for the incorrect password scenarios, right? 10-second gap we have given. You can reduce it. I think we reduce it to 6 seconds. Yes, 1234, which is an incorrect password. And then if you see here, you have got a runtime error which says throw credentials are not correct, right? Which is a business exception for you, right? And it says that this is the credential not correct. Remember, this is the message which we have given, right? So that means that all our scenarios are working fine as expected, right? If I go to the output, you can see that the login flow started, fresh login, throw the credential was not correct, right? Now you can simply use a boolean flag here, print it like that, okay, the credentials are not correct, send an email, stop the workflow, right? So this automation was all about to tell you that how you can write a login sequence in the modern design and the activities configuration, right? Okay, so that is all for this video. I would like to wrap this video here. I hope this was insightful. If you have any more questions, any more doubts, feel free to write me in the comments, or you can also drop me an email as well. I would appreciate your feedback on the video, and tell me in the comments what would be the next topic or next video you want to see. So with that, I would wrap this video here. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please do subscribe to the channel, and happy automation.